What does the year of mercy mean for us as Capuchins? When Pope Francis was in the conclave, it was clear eventually, after several rounds, that he was going to be elected Pope. And one of his good friends turned to him and he said to him, "Jorge, don't forget the poor." And in that moment, he realized, I think, part of what much of his pontificate was going to be was showing the world the mercy of God, especially the poor. And in that moment, he chose the name Francis. And many people thought it was because of Francis Xavier. He's a Jesuit, after all. But later he said, no, it was because of Francis of Assisi and for his great love and affection for the poor. Of course, now we have this special year of mercy. To commemorate this year of mercy, Pope Francis brought to Rome the bodies of two Capuchin saints, Padre Pio and Saint Leopold Mandic, both of whom were confessors, spent a long time in the confessional, but who in some ways exemplified mercy. And so it seems to me very clear that for Pope Francis, this year of mercy is also a very Franciscan year, and that the approach to mercy is very Franciscan. And what does that mean, though? I think one of the ways that Pope Francis is trying to show us this is by going out and doing what he does. And what is he doing? He's embracing people with leprosy. He's washing the feet of Muslim women. And he's going out and he's doing all these things that in some ways is shocking to people. And yet he's doing very much what I think St. Francis of Assisi did. He's showing people that God is mercy. And in doing this, he's inviting them to open their hearts to God, who is love. Right? And I think if we look in the life of St. Francis, this is very much what he did. And so here's Francis, who struggled so much with lepers. And what is he doing? He gets off his horse and he embraces this man who's been stigmatized by society, who's living on the margins in his own personal hell. And Francis enters into that man's darkness and he embraces him. He says, "You're my brother. I love you as a brother." And what does it do? It opens this man's heart. It says, "I'm not alone in this, that God is love." And in every way, through his actions, he's trying to show people, not so much preach to people, but show people God is love. So one day Francis told his friars, "We're going to go preach in this town." And so they did. They walked through the town, walked from one end to the other, back again, whole time, didn't say a single word. So at the end of it, the brother turned to Francis and he said, "I thought we were going to preach." Francis said, "We just did." And the idea was that we're preaching by our actions, by what we do, not so much by the words that we say. And this is where that phrase comes that's attributed to Francis, where he says, "Preach always, and when it's necessary, use words." This year of mercy is a kind of a twofold movement, and that first movement is really showing people that God is mercy, that God is love, and that creates in them an opening, a space, a possibility of grace for God. And the second part of that is the decision to return to God, to come back to God. And I think this happens for Catholics in a really beautiful way within the sacrament of confession. Unfortunately, I think many times as Catholics we have this kind of fear of confession, kneeling down before this strange person to unburden my soul, and it's often seen as something uncomfortable. But I think when we get down to what it really is, it's something so beautiful. Because what is it really? It's me as a sinner coming to the foot of the cross, where Jesus Christ is hanging and saying, "I have nothing. All I have are my sins. I'm broken. And I need your mercy. I need your love. I need something to make me whole again." And I think if we really understand what the beauty of confession is, that we would go to it as often as we could, because it fills us with peace and with joy. And I think this is one of the reasons the Capuchins were so well known as confessors and spiritual directors, because people felt that they could come to them, they could unburden their soul, they could encounter Christ through them, because they weren't there to judge them. They were there to listen to them and to confirm for them, in your sin, in your struggle, in your guilt, in the weight that you carry, God is love, God is mercy, and God forgives you. And that gives incredible peace, incredible joy to begin again and to continue on the journey.